Hello and a very good evening. This Friday and this Friday evening, right ahead of the weekend, I want to start with a happy story. Well, don't get distracted by that slug of ours. What an electrical shock. If you get shocked eventually as we progress in the show, I give this disclaimer I and we as entity, we are not responsible for that. Also, know this today and henceforth, whenever you see this pink marker on my pocket, know this, we have some documents to highlight. I'm clearly promoting the color pink. Tonight, I begin with this story, a happy story, a story of celebration, a story where you get into the preparation for the celebration. And I want to ask you this open ended question. If there is a celebration at your home, at your place, and if you have to plan for a wedding or any special occasion, how do you start with that? You start with finding a venue. And I want to talk on behalf of the middle class, the Aam Aadmi. Could be upper middle class, could be poor. And as I talk on behalf of them, and I ask you this question, how do you begin your preparation? You would say, we would first identify a venue. And once we have identified the venue, we would then think as how to decorate the venue with lights and flowers. And if lights fall short, we would go for more lights, and more lights. And that's how we would plan our celebration. Because if this is a celebration of a moment and celebration of a lifetime, then we ought to make it special. We ought to make it grandeur. And the grandest texture can only be felt when the venue looks absolutely perfect. Thus, when you start looking for a venue, you first find out whether the venue has AC or not, whether there is proper sound system, if required, proper microphone setup, a TP if required, proper flowers decorating the place, all invested to make that one moment special. But how do you do this? As it said, you cut your cloth as per your size. While you might have a lot of aspirations, and in this day and age of celebrations of wedding, almost like a national event, you too have aspirations and you do not mind. But aspirations also come for a price. And tonight, we will show you a story of aspiration. We will show you a story of celebration. And we will show you the cost of that very celebration. While this preparation, this preparation that you're talking about your celebration requires a lot of planning. Similarly, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's oath-taking ceremony was no less than a celebration. It was a big affair for BJP. It was a big affair for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. After all, he was taking oath as the Prime Minister of India for the third consecutive time, only the second Prime Minister in the history of India to have done so after Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister. Thus, this indeed was a very special moment. Doesn't really matter. BJP wasn't a single largest party this time, and it is NDA which is there at the center. Doesn't really matter. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister because there are allies who have supported BJP, like Nitish Kumar's JDU, like Chandrababu Naidu's TDP, and you have other smaller parties too who have shown their support for BJP. And thus, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister of India for the 18th Lok Sabha. And thus, the celebration is meant to be very, very special. And it was special, specially observed at Rashtrapati Bhavan on 9th of June. On 9th of June 2024, there was a gala celebration. Prime Minister Modi, along with cabinet ministers, took oath. An event that was attended by who's who, from industrialists to film stars to other politicians. It was like the entire who's who of the country and the world had descended over there to mark that moment, the momentous moment of BJP and also of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And you also cannot stop appreciating as how grandiose the affair looked, especially the backdrop, the Rashtrapati Bhavan, our very own Rashtrapati Bhavan. It is, in fact, one of the most beautiful buildings that we have ever seen. It is Gothic, it's huge, it's right there at the heart of New Delhi, our capital, and it looked magnificent, it looked fantastic, it looked spectacular. That Rashtrapati Bhavan, the colors on the building, the lights which illuminated that building, everything put together made it so, so, so very special. But we want to decode an expense. Now, all this celebration had come for a cost. Now, we want to decode the cost. I will let you know how much did it cost. But we want to decode the cost, and we are playing the corresponding visuals. That is Rashtrapati Bhavan. You see two LEDs right on the either side, and there were multiple LEDs affixed for people to watch the moment without any obstruction. It was the month of June, and it was in open air. So there was no cost of AC, and this is Rashtrapati Bhavan. So the very cost was nothing. But there were costs like lighting cost, other electrical costs like fans that had to be put up because all the guests were seated and no one should feel the discomfort of heat. And that's the reason fans were put out so that the crowd is in comfort, the lights had illuminated, the LEDs were set up, microphones were set up, wiring had done. I'm sure there was power backup. It was live telecast. Now, if I have to decode how much it can cost, if there were 200 fans and if each fan had cost a rent amount of 1000 rupees, then 2 lakh rupees. If every LED screen mounting that had cost about 30,000 rupees per LED, and if there were about, say, if there were about 100 LEDs, so 30,000 into 100. And likewise, say about 30 lakh. And likewise, if you put together every other cost, how much do you think it can come to? Keep guessing. How much do you think it can come to? Well, here's the revelation. This is a RTI response. This is a RTI response which has come from the government of India. This is an RTI response which has come from the Rashtrapati Bhavan. This is an RTI response which confirms the cost that was incurred for the oath-taking ceremony only after the electrical equipments like lights, fans, LED screen, microphones, wires, power backup, genset, everything put together. And guess how much it must have cost? Here's the amount. Here's the amount. The amount is 81 lakhs 79,386 rupees. 81 lakhs 79,386 rupees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 digits. 81 lakhs 79,386 rupees. This is an RTI response. And keep that screen playing. This is the RTI response which has come from the government of India. And I would tell you the specific department also. The specific department of Rashtrapati Bhavan. Now, this RTI response, this RTI was filed by RTI activist Ajay Basudev Bose. And this RTI response has come from the Office of Executive Engineer Electrical, Rashtrapati Sampada Electricity Board, Central Public, and it comes under Government of India. All right. Now, this is the RTI response, and this RTI was filed. This right to information was filed by RTI activist Ajay Basudev Bose. Okay, now I will not show you his address. This is Ajay Basudev Bose who had filed the RTI. And what did he ask? Under the RTI Act, please provide information related to swearing in ceremony of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Council of Ministers. Please provide detail of total amount spent on swearing in ceremony of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Council of Ministers at Rashtrapati Bhavan on 9th of June 2024 at 7:15 p.m. Expense include amount spent on LCD screen, carpet, chair, sofa, furniture, flower and decoration, audio and speaker, refreshments and mineral water, bottles and beverages, etc. The reply which has come, tentatively expenditure for electrical work is rupees 81 lakh 79,386 rupees only through the maintenance head. Please follow the catchword, the electrical work and electrical work alone, which means there are multiple departments. You would have a logistical department which would arrange for sofas, chairs, and everything for the guests to sit to be seated over there. But this particular response has come from the electrical department of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The electrical department has confirmed that the expense that they have incurred for the electrical equipments and for the entire lighting and LCD and fans and everything put together, 81 lakh rupees and plus. Now let's talk about aspirations, Aam Aadmi. Now let's talk about aspirations. Young India, now let's talk about aspirations. Yes, you watching this show, let's talk about your aspiration. Can you afford 81 lakhs 79,386 rupees after the electrical work at the venue where you're trying to hold your wedding ceremony or your child's birthday or your retirement ceremony, celebration, or any other celebration? Yes, I ask this to you, the Aam Aadmi of India. The Prime Minister's oath-taking ceremony had cost India this much. And Rashtrapati Bhavan is not a private property. Rashtrapati Bhavan is India's. It is ours. And this cost was incurred by the government of India. Prime Minister-elect taking oath, and the expense is this. And just from one department. We do not know how much had been the total cost for refreshments, for beverages, for chairs, and other arrangements, for vehicles, Would you want to call it lavish? Well, we do not mind if this was a lavish celebration. Why should we mind? India, after all, is the fifth largest economy, 3 trillion plus. And India now aspires to be the third largest economy in the world, 5 trillion and plus. And for a country which is aspiring to grow at the speed of light, obviously, we should aspire. We should aspire for lavish events. And Prime Minister's swearing in ceremony is nothing small, ladies and gentlemen. And thus, why should we mind? There is only one concern. The only concern is, while India aspires to be the fifth largest economy, third largest economy, beg your pardon, but in this same economy, 80 crore people are given free ration. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, in this same economy, 80 crore people are given free ration. In this very economy, little children have to stand in the queue for Anganwadi food at their schools. In this very economy, wedding of one family becomes the national news, while Manipur begs for attention but gets only pretension. In this very economy, Aam Aadmi takes a cycle or a scooter every day to work, and then at times, someone from a BMW on a BMW crushes them from behind. The rich can silence the law, evade it, while a poor can't mind. In this very economy, people take buses and other public transport, but at times, buses go down the river when the bridge it was on collapses. In that same economy, people take a train, and from that little window of the train, look up at a flight in the sky, aspiring, yes, one day I will. And in that same economy, people seated inside a train are thrown on the tracks when trains go off track, and know this, that is not the God's will. This is the same economy where people have to only aspire, possibly live an entire life only and only aspiring. Again, I say, we don't mind a lavish celebration of Prime Minister's oath taking ceremony. Why should we? But we do mind when our own people lose their lives in a train accident. In 32 days, in less than 32 days, India has seen two terrible train tragedies. On 17th of June, Kanchenjunga train accident happened. 10 people lost their lives. Yes, the bereaved families have been given 10 lakh compensation, but please tell me, can that compensation amount call someone Baba? Can that compensation amount call someone Ma? Can that compensation amount allow you to call someone your son, your daughter, your brother, your sister, your friend, your wife? People have lost their selves in these train accidents. And if you thought we will forget, you are very, very wrong. We will not. हम कागज दिखाएंगे, बार बार कागज दिखाएंगे. हम ना भूलेंगे, ना भूलने देंगे. And that's the reason. While there are celebrations going on for a wedding, while there had been celebrations for Prime Minister's oath-taking ceremony, I want to go back to this report on Kanchenjunga train accident, a report which has been filed by the Chief Commissioner of Railway Safety. And what do I want to highlight? I want to highlight page number 13. In this same economy, where the electrical work for the Prime Minister's swearing-in ceremony at Rashtrapati Bhavan had cost more than 81 lakh rupees, here's another truth. And it goes like saying, while doing this, while doing the investigation, the Railway Commission for Safety, the Chief Commissioner of Railway Safety, found that walkie-talkie sets were not issued to the loco pilot and the train manager of the goods train. And therefore, they were communicated over CUG, closely used group, if I'm not wrong. It is more like a phone, which requires you to dial, and only then you can build a communication. Instead, if you had a walkie-talkie and if you had the connection on, and while the train was specifically crossing on a track where the automatic signaling system had failed and that they were running on paper line clear ticket, that is manual signal, which actually required every train passing by on that defected track to follow certain rules, that walkie-talkie could have maintained an established communication without an effort. And that could have also meant surveillance. Somebody from the station, could be the station manager, could be the station master, could be from the controlling center, from the signaling center. They could have kept a strong vigil as in what speed the train was running on. And why do I say this? Because while Kanchenjunga Express, as per this report, had followed the protocol of maintaining the speed limit of 15 kilometers per hour, 5 trains which had crossed the same defected and, of course, the track where the automatic signaling system was not working, and the following goods train that eventually had rammed the Kanchenjunga Express from behind. All these 6 trains did not follow the protocol speed limit of 15 kilometers per hour. Of course, there is another catch. The caution order was not given. But if I have to focus on walkie-talkie and the communication channel that walkie-talkies could have ensured lacked at that point in time, it is principally because here, this is what the report says in its conclusion and its findings. Non-availability of safety equipments. This is not what Tamal Saha or entity is saying. This is what the Safety Commission Department has said. This is page number 24, and it says non-availability of safety equipments. It says there is a heavy shortage of walkie-talkie sets in the Katihar division. The requirement and the availability of walkie-talkie sets in Katihar division, as reported by their department, it says the total requirements were 260. They had 72. None of them were defective, and there was a shortfall of 188. In NGP, the requirement was 377. Working and available 169. None of the walkie-talkies were defective, and the shortfall 208. In another railway department, which is Malda, the requirement was 95. They had 62. 8 were defective, and the shortfall was 25. And it says, as per the crew lobby NGP report, even on 17th of June, that is the fateful day when the accident happened, goods train crew, that is the loco pilot and the train managers, were not issued walkie-talkie sets. The loco pilots and the train manager of the goods train were also not issued walkie-talkies sets here. And it is also observed that from 12th of June 2024 till 17th of June 2024, 137 goods train were not provided with walkie-talkie sets. It is part of the protocol. They are meant to be given walkie-talkies in cases of eventuality, in cases of any kind of a situation which can't be avoided. These walkie-talkie sets could be of great rescue. And it clearly says that between 12th of June 2024 and 17th of June 2024, when the accident happened, 137 trains, goods trains, were not given walkie-talkie sets, primarily because there were absolute shortfall of walkie-talkies in Katia division. There were shortfall of walkie-talkies in New Jalpaiguri. There was shortfall of walkie-talkies in Malda. No one should be questioned. No one should be held accountable for this. Okay, hold on. There's more. This says that the walkie-talkie sets were not issued to the loco pilot and the train manager, and therefore they were communicating over CUG phone, and there were calls outside the CUG phone numbers also, which means the established communication channel had lacked over there. And why I'm stressing on this? I'm stressing on this because this very report says that the goods train, which had eventually rammed the Kanchenjunga Express from behind, possibly there was a communication gap, because even though it was expected to ply on 15 kilometers per hour speed, it had shot up its speed till 78 kilometers per hour before it had pressed the emergency brakes, and eventually at 40 kilometers per hour speed had rammed into the rear of Kanchenjunga Express. Could this situation been averted? Could this situation been avoided had there been a walkie-talkie? And now I ask this question. In a country where the Prime Minister swearing in ceremony can spend 81 lakh rupees and plus after electrical equipments, isn't walkie-talkie an electrical requirement for Indian railways and for the safety of Indian railways? Answer us. 137 trains were not given walkie-talkies because there were shortfall of walkie-talkies in Katia division. And Indian Railways is aspiring for a bullet train. Indian Railways is aspiring for more Vande Bharat. And we are still crying for Kavach and walkie-talkie. How many more accidents we want? I'm not saying that any ministry or any minister would ever want a train accident which would claim human lives. Yesterday, Chandigarh-Dibrugarh Express derailed. We still don't know what happened. We do not know what happened. What you know, two people have lost their lives, which means two families are bereaved today, and they're crying for justice. And 10 lakh compensation is not justice to them. Finally, in its own findings, the report says, in its own finding, it says that there were lack of walkie-talkies, which can also be contributed as one of the many reasons why it is being called error in train working. Error in train working. Page number 28. This is the provincial finding, and it says there had been lapses at multiple levels in managing the train operations under automatic signaling failure. It also highlights that how people lack proper education. It also says non-issuing of caution order as stipulated was missed out. It also says that walkie-talkies were not given. Non-availability of critical safety equipment. Why would somebody stress on the word critical safety equipment? Because walkie-talkies are considered to be a critical requirement for trains operating on the tracks. Nobody can be sure that the signaling system won't fail. It's after all technology. And after there is a technical failure, like the one that you're facing today with Windows, it is a technical failure, but so many people are affected. So many offices are affected. So much of operations are affected across the country and the world. Similarly, nobody can be sure there won't be any technical glitch. But if there is a technical glitch, how to operate, and walkie-talkie is considered to be one of the many requirements required for healthy operations. And why do I say this? Where is that other paper, Ronnie? Why do I say walkie-talkie is important? Now this, all right, just hold this for a second. Now this is another report. This is a Government of India communication, all right? This is a Government of India communication, Ministry of Railways. Do you see this? Dated 2010, March 2010. It has been issued to general managers of all Indian railways, including Kolkata Metro, Chairman and Managing Director, Konkan Railway Corporation. And the subject is use of walkie-talkie sets. Now, this is a communication which has been sent to every general manager of all railway stations in India. And it has been issued by the Railway Board, Ministry of Railways. It was a report that was filed after there had been a rear-end collision of Mewar Express between Mathura Junction and Vrindavan Road Station with Goa Express on 21st of October 2009 on Mathura Palwal section. And after that train accident, this is what the Commission of Railway Safety had found. Based on the Commission of Railway Safety Northeast Circle's immediate recommendation, it says that guards of trains should be required to warn on VHF and the crew of following train in automatic signaling territory if their train has come to an out-of-course halt in automatic territory between two stations. Some of the zonal railways have pointed out repercussions both on operations and on the safety in following these instructions. They've also detailed the ground level problems in implementing the above mentioned recommendation. Thus, they have tweaked it a bit. What does it say? The station master may communicate. Follow. The station master may communicate on walkie-talkie for advising abnormalities that require immediate attention by the loco pilot guard for controlling, stopping their train. This is a communication from Railway Ministry. This is a communication which requires that every train, every loco pilot should be given a walkie-talkie, because if there is an abnormality, if there is any kind of an abnormality, it can be communicated. And why is this so important in this context of Kanchenjunga Express and the goods train which met with a fatal accident on 17th of June? Because walkie-talkies were not there. And also, the goods train had shot up its speed till 78 kilometers per hour while commuting on a distance more or less 2 kilometers, 2.5 kilometers before the accident happened. Imagine, in that very situation, when the goods train, in absence of a speed restriction, in absence of a caution order, if for whatever reason had picked up a speed, and if that was communicated to the goods train loco pilot and the co-pilot immediately over walkie-talkie, could the situation have been different? But there was no walkie-talkie, gentlemen and women. There were no walkie-talkies with them. And that's the reason we question, is walkie-talkie not an electrical equipment? And if this electrical equipment was missing in Cartier division, and if there was a shortfall of that, whose responsibility is this? Because we after all believe in an economy which is the fifth largest economy in the world. And we are aspiring to be the third largest economy very soon. And thus, like yesterday and like always, we ask this question. If India is, and the Indian government is nothing but representation of people, and if people cannot afford to aspire something so lavish in their lives, if people at times cannot afford to have a safe train journey because of lapses at multiple levels, as being cited in this report, can India really afford to have a celebration that is as expensive as 81 lakh rupees and plus only after electrical equipments for the Prime Minister's swearing-in ceremony? Again, I say, we have no qualms against the Prime Minister. We have nothing against anyone celebrating, but we do have a lot of concerns about the safety of our own people while they are traveling on a train, while they are on a bus and the bus is on a bridge which may or might collapse. In a nation where wedding becomes the talking point of one family, wedding of one family becomes the talking point, when will this be the talking point of this entire country? When will the mainstream media talk about this? When the legacy media will talk about this? This report is not a glitch in our aspiration to become the third largest economy of the world. You know what a glitch is? My producer just informed me that she has found a glitch. And I would want to leave you with that very glitch. The glitch that would compel you to ask the system, the authority, क्या है फकीर, कौन है फकीर, और क्या है फकीरी? I thank you all for connecting with us, for all your support, and for watching this live broadcast. And like always, I assure you, doesn't really matter how many people come and watch us, doesn't really matter who is trying to restrict and how, but we will never ever stop asking the legitimate questions. Thank you for watching. Good night, take care, and I leave you with this enormous glitch.
ज्यादा से ज्यादा ये मेरा क्या कर लेंगे भाई? नहीं बताइए क्या कर लेंगे? अरे हम तो फकीर आदमी हैं, झोला लेके चल पड़ेंगे जी। ज्यादा से ज्यादा ये मेरा क्या कर लेंगे भाई? नहीं बताइए क्या कर लेंगे? अरे हम तो फकीर आदमी हैं, झोला लेके चल पड़ेंगे जी। ज्यादा से ज्यादा ये मेरा क्या कर लेंगे भाई? नहीं बताइए क्या कर लेंगे? अरे हम तो फकीर आदमी हैं, झोला लेके चल पड़ेंगे जी। ज्यादा से ज्यादा ये मेरा क्या कर लेंगे भाई? नहीं बताइए क्या कर लेंगे? अरे हम तो फकीर आदमी हैं, झोला लेके चल पड़ेंगे जी। ज्यादा से ज्यादा ये मेरा क्या कर लेंगे भाई? नहीं बताइए क्या कर लेंगे? अरे हम तो फकीर आदमी हैं, झोला लेके चल पड़ेंगे जी। ज्यादा से ज्यादा ये मेरा क्या कर लेंगे भाई? नहीं बताइए क्या कर लेंगे? अरे हम तो फकीर आदमी हैं, झोला लेके चल पड़ेंगे जी।